We've all been there, well maybe not in an EV, but we know the feeling. That little glowing icon on the dashboard lights up and a switch flips in your brain. Your focus narrows, the hunt begins. Where's the next charging station? Is it available? Will the connector work? For an electric vehicle owner, this isn't a rare occurrence. Why do we all leave it right to the last minute? Anyway, next time I'll be early. That's range anxiety, and for years it's been one of the biggest psychological barriers holding back the electric revolution. It's the invisible tether that keeps these incredible machines chained to cities and carefully planned trips, turning a spontaneous drive into a, well, game of logistical chess. But what if I told you that in the very near future, not that far away, our whole idea of a charging station could become, well, a little bit dated? What if the endless search for a plug, the half-hour wait for a top-up and the deep-seated fear of getting stranded were all just relics of the past? What if the roads themselves could power your car as you drive, meaning your range isn't a countdown, but a resource that's constantly being refilled? And this isn't science fiction. This is the promise of dynamic wireless charging, and the first stretches of this revolutionary road are already being laid. I'm Dave, this is Dave Takes It On. The electric vehicle was pitched to us as the future of transportation, clean, quiet, hyper-efficient. And in so many ways it is. For those of us who can charge at home, it's almost everything we could ask for. Almost. Because with EVs now having much longer ranges, our day-to-day motoring is absolutely fine. But what about those longer trips? The incredible growth in the number of EVs on our roads has also shined a massive unavoidable spotlight on a fundamental weakness: the charging infrastructure. Well, for all the mind-bending technology packed inside a modern electric car, the way we refuel it is still surprisingly old school. We simply swap the gas pump and the nozzle for a plug, but we're still fundamentally tied to a physical station. This simple fact creates a few major headaches that everyone, from a daily commuter to a fleet manager, has to deal with. First, we've got that range anxiety we talked about. It is more than a buzzword. It is a real psychological hurdle that does stop millions of people from even considering an EV. It can transform what should be a joyful road trip into a stressful puzzle of planning every single stop around available, compatible and hopefully functional chargers. But mostly there's the time. We live in a world which is now instant gratification. Can't wait for anything, but even the most advanced DC fast chargers, ultra rapids, they're technological marvels in their own right, but they can take 20 to 30 minutes to give you a meaningful top-up. That's an eternity compared to the 5 minutes we're always quoted for a gas station stop. For a delivery driver, long-haul trucker or rideshare driver, that's downtime. It's not just an annoyance, it's money straight down the drain. And here's the fascinating twist. This problem is persisting even as the number of charging stations is absolutely booming. Tesla added around 2,200 new supercharger stalls worldwide in the first quarter of 2025 alone. It's an 18% increase. So the real challenge isn't just about the number of plugs, it's the station-based model itself. Installing a bank of high-speed chargers takes up a ton of valuable real estate in crowded cities and towns. It requires massive expensive upgrades to the local power grid. We're actually trying to solve a 21st century mobility problem with a 20th century station-based grid mindset. But what if we're just looking at it all wrong? What if the answer isn't just more stations, but making them far less necessary? So that brings us to this wild, transformative idea, dynamic wireless charging. I want you to really picture this for a moment. You're cruising down the highway, maybe on a long-distance trip. Instead of watching your battery percentage slowly drain, it's actually holding steady or even gaining charge, a state of charge. Imagine your car's range isn't a countdown to zero, but a stable resource that's constantly refilling itself from the very road you're driving on. That's the future that engineers around the world are already working to build. The concept is to embed charging technology directly into the road. This would turn a regular road, highway, dual carriageway, or a single street into a dedicated energy lane that wirelessly transmits powers to cars as they drive over it. No stopping, no fumbling with heavy cables, no waiting around. The journey becomes the charge. It's a fundamental paradigm shift. This technology generally comes in two main flavours. The static wireless charging. This is where you charge by simply parking over a pad embedded in the ground. Think of it as a giant, super-powered wireless charger for your phone. We're already seeing this tested for places like taxi stands and city bus stops, where vehicles have predictable dwell times. But the real game changer is dynamic wireless charging, also called in-motion charging, which powers your car while it's moving at normal speeds. Now, this would completely flip the script on how we use and design EVs. It's a move from our current stop and charge world to a charge on the go one. In this new world, electric trucks could drive cross-country with drastically fewer stops. City buses could run their routes continuously without having to return to the depot, and the size of your car's battery wouldn't be the single most important metric that it is today. By the way, range anxiety would cease to exist. So how is this even possible? Sounds like something out of a futuristic movie, but the core technology is called inductive power transfer. And before you state it's impossible, you already use it. How about your smartphone or electric toothbrush? Just think of it as a much bigger, much more powerful, much more intelligent version of that. So here's the simple breakdown. A series of specially designed copper coils are embedded a few inches below the road surface. When these coils are activated, they generate a safe, contained magnetic field. Then a receiver plate, which houses its own coil, is fitted to the underside of an EV. As the car drives over the transmitter coils in the road continuously, the oscillating magnetic field induces an electric current in the vehicle receiver's plate. That's it. This current is then converted from AC to DC, fed directly into the car's battery or used to power the motor directly, and effectively driving it and charging it seamlessly while you're on the move. Engineers are working tirelessly to make this process incredibly efficient and completely safe. The latest systems use a principle called magnetic resonance. We know that from MRI scans, which effectively tunes the transmitter in the road and the receiver on the car to the same frequency. This allows the power to transfer efficiently even if the car isn't perfectly aligned with the coils, which is obviously critical for real-world driving conditions where you're not always perfectly centered in the lane. The whole system is smart too. It's designed to only activate when a compatible, authenticated vehicle is driving over it, and that saves a ton of energy and ensures safety. Furthermore, this isn't just a dumb power line. Secure communication between the road and the car allows for a constant data handshake. This means the system can intelligently manage the charging rate to protect your car's battery, the health, handle billing automatically and securely, and even help manage the load on the electrical grid by adjusting charging speeds based on overall demand. It's not just a powered road. It's a smart, responsive energy ecosystem. Well, this all sounds fantastic in a lab, but can it handle the brutal reality of potholes, torrential rain, heavy snow and rush hour traffic? Well, the answer is we're actually finding out right now. See, this is not just a theoretical concept. Pilot projects are popping up all over the world. Many have been running for over a year, proving that the technology is feasible. Now, okay, I know what you're thinking. You can never cover every single yard or metre of every road everywhere in the world. You are absolutely correct. Of course you can't. But nor do you need to for most journeys. You see, you've still got a battery, And probably 95% of all your journeys will still be done using the internal battery. No change here. But for those few longer journeys each year where you exceed this range, or for those constantly on the road like a rep or delivery driver, being able to charge on some roads may be all that's needed combined with your battery. In the US, there is a landmark project. It's taking shape. It's in Indiana, fittingly known as the Crossroads of America, and the project is Charging the Crossroads of America. The Indiana Department of Transportation has partnered with Purdue University and Cummins to build the country's first ever wireless charging concrete highway segment on a stretch of the US 231. It's a quarter-mile testbed with construction planned for completing in 2025. It's going to test the ability to charge heavy-duty trucks at highway speeds using power levels of around 200 kilowatts or more. Yeah, you heard correct. 200 kilowatts charging while you're driving. Who says it's less efficient? Well, the long-term goal is to electrify an entire section of an Indiana interstate. Meanwhile, over in Detroit, the historic heart of the American auto industry, quarter-mile stretch of 14th Street in the Corktown neighborhood became the first public road in the US to feature dynamic wireless charging. The project is led by a company called Electrion. It went live in late 2023, 2 years ago. They've been using a Ford E-Transit shuttle to test the system in real urban conditions, putting it through everything from scorching hot summers to punishing Michigan winters. And no, this isn't just an American phenomenon thing. A project in Sweden called Smart Road Gotland has already provided crucial data showing that these roads can hold up and function perfectly even in the harsh Scandinavian winter weather, withstanding temperatures as low as -23 Celsius. The multi-year test successfully charged both a 40-ton truck and a public bus, sometimes simultaneously, proving the system's durability and flexibility. Well, with other pilot projects underway in Germany, Israel and Italy, these aren't just isolated science experiments. They are the very first tangible steps towards building the transportation infrastructure of the next century. Well, eliminating range anxiety is a huge deal, but the true impact of wireless charging of roads could go much, much deeper, solving some of the most fundamental problems holding back the EV transition. The single biggest potential win is enabling smaller, lighter and cheaper batteries. Right now, the battery is by far the most expensive and heaviest component of an electric car. Their production is also resource intensive, relying on mining of minerals like lithium. But if a car can constantly sip energy from the road, it might not need such a massive 400 or 500 mile range battery pack. Instead, it could use a much smaller battery size just for the trips off the main electrified arteries. Some early studies suggest dynamic charging could lead to battery size reductions of up to 40% and even more in certain use cases. Well, this would set off a powerful chain reaction because smaller batteries means lighter cars. Lighter cars are inherently more efficient, energy efficient, so they need a smaller battery, and that means lower manufacturing costs, which could finally bring the price of EVs down, making them incredibly affordable for a much wider audience. That would directly tackle two of the main barriers to EV adoption, the upfront cost and the fear of battery degradation. Well, beyond the cars themselves, this technology could literally reshape our cities. Imagine city landscapes with less visual clutter from charging stations. All that valuable land currently dedicated to parking areas and retail parks, and that could actually be reclaimed for things like housing, local businesses. Public transport could become vastly more efficient and reliable, with electric buses running non-stop routes without having to deviate for charging. By starting with major highways and freight corridors, we could begin to electrify the trucking industry as one of the largest sources of transportation emissions. That would make our supply chains cleaner and more resilient. But for those who are just looking for longer journeys, say in excess of 300 miles, no sane private driver at the moment attempts that without a break of some sort, and no business driver can legally drive for more than 5 hours, which is about 300 miles, without a legal 30-minute break. And that's plenty of time to top up the batteries at the moment. So, no, this under-road charging is highly unlikely to be suitable for those that cannot charge at home. Nobody's going to go out driving along specific major roads or motorways just to charge their batteries. But there is a very small number of drivers who regularly cover much longer trips, and add in those whose livelihood is driving, the lorries, the vans and the buses, and there is very likely a very good financial case for EV drivers like these. Of course, the neggies will scream that paving every road in the world with charging coils isn't going to be easy, cheap or quick. Yeah, totally correct, because in fact, it's totally unnecessary. It's a pathetic project. Scrap that stupid idea. For most of us, for most of our journeys, we can simply use the battery that we have now do exactly the same. The average daily mileage in the UK is less than 20 miles. There's no need for charging at all on a regular basis, so there'll be no change here. Now, for longer trips, the majority of EVs today can easily cover 150, 250 miles, some now well over 400 miles on a single charge, meaning that most journeys that we undertake still do not need any charging at all en route, static or under road. Well, the biggest and most obvious challenge is the astronomical cost. The initial price tag to build this technology into our roads is just huge. But once we thought exactly the same about motorways, and we now have privately owned and operate motorways, M6 toll roads in the Midlands. And how about the numerous bridges, tunnels and crossings that are funded or operated privately or in conjunction with local councils, like the Dartford Crossing, the Mersey Gateway Crossing, the Severn and Humber Bridges, the Tyne and the Mersey Tunnels. It will not be long before someone calculates there is a market, and then the private money will pour in. We also need to talk about standards. See, for this ecosystem to work on a national or global scale, we need a universal system. So a Toyota or a Ford driving on the same road needs to be able to charge, but it also needs to be able to not charge. If, for example, dig in under-road charging on the M25, not every single vehicle will want to charge every time. Most will still be able to and choose to use the battery, as they might have cheaper charging options at work or at home waiting for them. Those that choose to use them should be able to, and those that don't want or need to charge must still be allowed to drive the same roads just without charging and without paying. Then there's the challenge of retrofitting. It's not just the roads that need an upgrade. Some cars, lorries, vans and buses do too. I say some because the majority of EV drivers will never need to. But in time, this will probably just be built into the vehicles from new, allowing those who want to go and use the road charging as an option. A bit like the M6 toll. Anyone can choose to use it. Most people choose not to because you have to pay. But these challenges, while significant, they're not insurmountable. We probably won't wake up tomorrow, or indeed ever, to find every local street electrified. Nah. Instead, the rollout will have to be very strategic, starting where it makes the biggest economic and environmental impact. So this is going to be major freight routes, public bus routes, and key motorways and major roads that form the backbone of our economy. This phased approach makes the cost more manageable and allows the technology to prove its value and reliability at a large scale. The electric car is at a fascinating pivotal point in its history. We've developed incredible battery and motor technology, but for the most part, we're still stuck in the old 20th century way of thinking. You drive until you're low on fuel, you stop and you refuel. We need to break that thinking, just like we do with most new technologies. Abandon the old, adopt the new. Dynamic wireless charging offers a bold, paradigm-shifting path forward, a future of seamless, continuous travel where the journey itself can, if you wanted to, provide the power. If ever under-road charging becomes commonplace, and the price becomes very competitive, then the way we will charge our EVs will change forever, and we may head down a totally new direction where EVs have much smaller, cheaper batteries. And in time, a cleaner, more efficient transportation system will no longer be just an idea on a whiteboard. The technology's here, and the foundational pieces are being tested and proven on the real roads in Indiana, Michigan, Sweden, Israel, and Italy. Well, the road ahead is long, and it will undoubtedly be expensive. There are immense political and technical hurdles to overcome. But the shift has begun. The core question is no longer if our roads will one day power our cars, but when and how we choose to build our future. The end of the charging station as we know it might not be here tomorrow, but the foundation for what comes next is already being built right under our wheels. Well, if you found this look into the future of transportation interesting, make sure to hit that like button. And for more deep dives into technologies that are or will be shaping our world, don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications. And for those of you who can, please support the channel as a member. There's so many benefits for that, with previews of videos that we don't show anywhere else, behind the scenes footage, bloopers, and you can meet up with me on one of our many filming days out. And if you wish, buy me a cup of coffee. I'm Dave.